All right, hello everyone, and we are back. I feel like it's been a while. We're back with a new episode of the Hope Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Juanita Woodson, joined by my amazing co-host Joy Westphalo, and we are helping organize positive parenting effectively. So we have on with us a guest, Shermonicia Slaughter, and I'm going to let you introduce her, Joy.
Yes, good evening. Oh my gosh, it feels so good to be back. We took a little break only because, we have the big moments for moms. Stay tuned. You'll find out more about the moments for moms. Got a shout out to the amazing visionary, Miss Juanita, for that. So I have the honor to introduce Miss Shermonicia Slaughter. Like we met at a vending event. And if you know anything about me, I'm gonna talk, right? So we just kind of started talking. And then as we started thinking about, different episodes and who we're gonna have on for the podcast, I was like, you know what? I need to reach out to Shermonicia. Yeah. So no one can introduce yourself like you can. So I'm gonna let you take this moment to introduce yourself, however you are led to.
Well, first off, thank you both for having me on. I'm very excited. As you can tell, I jumped on early waiting. That's just how excited I was. But no, I'm Shermonicia Slaughter. I'm from Mobile. I'm down here in Mobile, Alabama, born and raised here. I'm a mom of three. I am a 14-year domestic violence survivor. I have three beautiful children. And I'm currently writing my own book right now. I'm writing my autobiography, just kind of being allow God to lead me. But I've been doing the advocacy work for maybe about 4 or 5 years now. I have a nonprofit called Help Me Help You, where I help women and men. It's kind of hard, to get a man involved, but I help men and women that has overcome domestic violence like myself. And so I'm happy to be here with you ladies.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned that you are a 14-year domestic violence survivor, right?
Yes,
So I'm
ma'am.
always just thankful to have people here that can still tell the story, right? Because a
Thank
lot of
you.
people
Thank you.
don't make it out to be
Yeah.
able to tell the story and to encourage other people to leave when they can, right? So can you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to become an activist for women and also men, and then also teen moms?
Yes. Well, when I first got into this, I thought that because I was in a 4-year relationship, and then I realized I was like, no, a lot of my domestic violence, it started when I was a teenager. Like my very first true boyfriend that I had, I was 16. He pushed me through a glass window. And I defended him and stood up for him, even though it was like on camera and everything. And that's kind of where it started from, just man after man after man. So it was just kind of like a trail of it right there. So that's led into me being a teen mom at 19. And he was abusive. He wasn't physically abusive, my son's dad. He was mentally and verbally abusive, which is still just, different effects of it and everything. So once I got out of the last relationship that was the most abusive, that which I almost died from, that's when my advocacy began right there. Mhm.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. So, what are some red flags that you would say teen moms should look for early in a relationship?
Ooh, well, for me, because I grew up with abuse, it was like it was what I was accustomed to. So if we wasn't fighting and arguing, this and that, I felt as being boring because I was broken on the inside. But I know what I tell my daughters, because I have two daughters and I have a son and everything. The first time that they put their hands on you, don't wait. Don't say, oh, it was a mistake or that was my thing right there. It was just a mistake. It won't happen again. But that's the first clear red flag. The first time they put their hands on you, it will never be, oh, it was just a mistake, because it's going to get worse and worse. My situation, he was controlling, so he literally cut off everyone that was around and isolated me. So that's another thing. If they don't want you to talk to your mom or your dad or your best friend, they want to cut you off, it's because they want to have you all to themselves. I got to a point where I had no one. He was all that I had, and that's where he wanted me to be. So I feel like those would be the two major things that you start looking for. And of course, you know, with the way they talk to you and everything like that, those are clear cut ones. But them two right there, leave and don't look back.
Yes, absolutely. And don't look back. Right.
Amen.
Yes. So, and then you mentioned something, right? And I just want to, if you can expound on that a little bit, because you mentioned if about it being boring, right? So if they're not yelling or what we like to say, fighting for
Mm-hmm.
love, we often think that it's boring, or maybe that person does not care about us, right? So what would you then say to a teen mom who, because I think it's normally when you're younger where you haven't grown up to know that that is not love, right? That's crazy, that's toxic. What would you say to a teen mom who's experiencing that, what she feels is like maybe boring, and may go involve herself in a toxic domestic violence relationship?
Well, I would have to say to her, why do you think that is love?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think? You know, can you give me some examples and everything? See, for me, both my parents were addicts growing up. And so we were alone, but we saw a lot. We stayed a lot in domestic violence shelters. I saw a lot of fighting. So it was like, this is love. To me, this has to be what love is and everything. And so when I got into therapy, that's what she asked me, what made you think that was love? And it was like, it was all they ever know. And sometimes that's all what people know. That's all what they have seen and experienced. But once you start doing healing work on yourself and really going on the inside, first you have to make a decision. Let me back up right there. You have to make a decision, because I left like 4 or 5 times and I kept coming back, kept allowing him to come back. And so you have to make a decision. I don't want this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's even when it comes to someone that's that being a teen mom. What are you showing your child? What if your daughter or your son came to you and said, I'm getting beat up? I'm sure you would tell them to leave. Take that same advice for yourself. And I had to think about my children when it came down to it. And it was the night I left that I had almost died, that it really just clicked to me. You got to get out of here.
Yes, absolutely. Ooh, you said a mouthful. And I want to break apart each.
It's
I
okay.
know
It's
we'll be
okay.
here all night.
I'm here.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So, what would you tell a young mom that may feel like they're trapped in this abusive relationship, but they're too afraid to leave because they don't want to raise their child alone or their
Ooh,
kids?
that was me. I hated to be alone.
Yes.
I would generally tell her, if you can't be alone, you can't be with anyone. Because at the end of the day, you can be in a relationship and still be the loneliest person in the world. Married, all of that. I've been married, was the loneliest person in the world.
Wow.
So you have to look at that right there. How is this going to be for you 5 years? Are you going to be here 5 years down the line? Because at the end of the day, either he going to kill you or you may kill him. You have to think about your child. And I always bring it back to the children. What are they seeing? Would you want your child to go through this that you're going through? No, of course not. And unfortunately, my mother and my sisters, they couldn't give me that advice because we all were in the domestic violence relationship. My dad beat my mom, all my sisters, my thing that all my sisters' boyfriends beat them. So it was like it was a cycle, and that was something in my family bloodline of women always being in abusive relationship with me.
Wow. And I think it can definitely stem from things that you have seen,
Yes.
experienced in the past as well. And you mentioned something about being isolated, and sometimes,
Yes.
and I'll speak for myself, right? My family didn't know that until later down the line what I was experiencing in that situation. But if they did, I'm sure that it would have been a different outcome a lot sooner. So when we think about like how being in that type of relationship can isolate you, and it can make it hard for you to leave, because everybody may think it's all great on the outside, but inside it's just nothing but chaos and
Yes.
confusion.
And misery. Yeah. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So what were some of the hardest moments for you when deciding that you wanted to leave, and then how did you overcome those moments?
So as I stated before, we were together for 4 years, and the abuse started early. It started early on, and I just So the night I left, of everything that he did to me. So by a month or two before I left, I had started secretly going to therapy. So he was thinking that I was at work, but I was going to therapy. And I came up with this plan. I sent my son to live with my sister because he had seen a lot, even though he was just like, I think he was 5 back then. He had seen a lot and he was just scared for his mom. And so I sent him to go live with my sister. And the daughter that I shared with him, she was like 9 months. Yeah, like 9 months. And so I was putting money to the side. I was going to leave because he wouldn't leave. And so he would always say, call the police on me. I'm gonna let your landlord know I'm living here so you can get evicted. And I just go back to my mom's house. And he knew I didn't have nowhere to go. So I was like, okay, you don't want to go, I'm gonna go. And so once I sent my son away and I started putting things together to leave, the night that I left and everything, of course we got into it. He kind of was figuring things was out and everything, and I was just done. I wasn't arguing him. I wasn't doing anything. I was getting out of there for my children's sake. And unfortunately, you know what I'm saying, he kind of put two and two together. We got into a fight. I ran to leave, and he chased me down, and he busted me in my head and left me in the field, bleeding from my head, dying. I was bleeding out. And while I was, I guess, unconscious, you can say, I just had a vision of my funeral. God showed me my funeral, and I saw myself in a casket, and I saw my 2 children sitting on the front row just crying because their mom was gone. And I heard God's voice so clearly say, if you don't leave now, I'm showing you what's going to happen. You let him come back too many times. Each time it was worse. He had got married. I took him back. He had had a baby. I took him back. That's just how broken I was as a woman. Each time it was worse. And I don't know how I got back to my house because he claims that he left me, but I woke up in my bed. I don't know how I got there, but I woke up in my bed and that was it. And he got all his stuff. His mom came and got him. And I just told the Lord, I was like, if you help me through this, I will do what you want me to do when it comes to situations like this to help women. And I'll never go back. And it's been 14 years and I never look back.
Oof. The testimony that comes.
I thank God. I thank God.
Y'all, I'm over here trying to hold back tears.
No.
Like,
oh, Miss Joy.
Yeah, because I personally know someone right now that is going through that situation.
Oh, wow.
And everything that you're saying is like, that's what the person did. Literally isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just like, wow. Okay. So for our teen moms, what are some of the steps that if they want to leave the situation, what are the steps that they should take?
So, most people, when they leave situations, either the person end up killing them. We all know statistically about that. But with me, he moved on to another woman really quick. So his focus kind of went over there, and I was able to just kind of start my journey with healing and not having to worry about someone stalking me and things like that. If they don't have any help around them, unfortunately, where I'm living at, it's not a lot of resources. That's why I really want to open up domestic violence shelter, just like throughout the United States. It's just like a plan I'm asking God to help me with, because it's really not a lot of places that, they can go to. So 9 times out of 10, they stay, or they just rather be homeless and everything. So I would say, if you know a safe place where you can go, make that decision and don't go back and forth with it. If you got somewhere that you can truly go where you're going to be safe and it's going to be no connection, go. Get yourself, if you got children, go. And please don't look back, because they're going to try. They're going to try. Oh my goodness, they're going to try. I'll never hit you again. It'll never happen again. It was angry. And it was crazy because his family used to be like, well, stop making him mad and he won't hit you. Even his mom, everybody. Yes, his mother was the main one. Just don't make him mad and he won't fight you. I was like, okay. Okay, then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice to them if they got someplace safe to go. I didn't have anywhere. I was just gonna get in my car and go. that was my plan. I had money. I was gonna
go. Yeah. It's not always a bad thing when they move on, y'all. Mm-hmm. It can save your life.
Yes, it saved mine. Unfortunately, he still went on to abuse other women after me and everything, which of course how that is. I was lying into when he abused them, and then they wanted to come back like, can I talk to you for a minute? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, like I said earlier, I'm glad that you are still here to be able to share your testimony because like Joy said, there's somebody that she knows that's going through that right now. So just imagine how many other people are in that experience or have gone through it and they just don't know how to talk about it. And counseling is definitely a great.
And it's so sad because it's getting younger and young, and it's such a shame behind it. A lot of people are ashamed to talk about I was one of them, but you see these young girls that's
Yes.
is younger, and I was like, wow.
Yes, absolutely. So I know when we our focus is like honestly helping teen moms, right?
Yeah.
But now there's a baby that's involved in this relationship. So it's not just about the two of you anymore, right?
Mm.
How do you keep your child emotionally safe because that's still their dad or that's still their mom while you're going through this situation and you're trying to determine for you, do I leave or do I stay? But there's a child involved now. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with the emotions of the child in that situation?
Well, my son wasn't his. He was from my ex-husband, and my daughter, me and him, we share a daughter and everything. So I had to put my son in therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. I actually put all of my children in therapy along with myself too, because I knew he had a lot of anger, and he would tell me all the time, "I don't want to be here anymore. Can I go stay with my dad?" Or can he was so happy to go with my sister because he saw him, dragging me through the house. He saw him locking me in closets. He saw him, beating me. He didn't see a lot of because he raped me and everything. He didn't see that or anything like that, but he saw a lot of it, and he was jealous of my son. He felt like I loved my son more than him, and I was like, "Yeah, I do. That's my son." But he was just jealous of him. Now he never put his hands on my child. I never let it got that right there. You do what you want to me, but you're not gonna put your hand on my son. That was my mentality back then. But he carried that for a long time, and I think still somewhat to this day, he's still real protective of me. He's 20 now, and so this whenever we go somewhere, he's like right here, and I'm like, I'm okay. But I guess he just have that I gotta protect you. I'm always gonna protect because I couldn't protect you back then. And so with me putting him in therapy, and we was going to church and finding out who God is and everything. It's like we basically kind of grew up together, me and him and everything. And so he went through a lot. He did. And I used to regret that a whole lot, but I had to forgive myself for a lot of things.
I'm full.
Oh,
I am because like what you're saying is I'm understanding now of some things um because I was in a domestic violence relationship. He hit me one time and that was it because I'm not putting up with it. That was it. And I do understand how hard it is for some people to leave because like you say they may not have nowhere to go. You may have the parents in your ear, saying that foolishness because that's
yes.
exactly what it is. It's because they put up with it, and it's
Yeah.
okay. Don't make them mad, whatever. So I do understand, and I think maybe as women sometimes we don't know our worth, and we think that we're supposed to be a punching bag, and we're so much more than that because this is a question that I was having that I had the other day, and this is totally not scripted. I'm just flowing because this is a real question. Do you all think that physical abuse and verbal abuse, do you think one holds weight over the other?
Oh, that's a
Okay.
good.
Okay. Do you want to answer first, or you want me?
No, whoever.
So so the way I look at it, and I can't speak for everyone, physical abuse, trust me, it's hard. It leaves its scars, but those scars go away. Mental and verbal abuse is there with you. I carried a lot of that even after years after not being with him. Just the mental of just the talking down to and the cussing out and the this and that. I carried that because I believe that about myself. And when he was going on with someone else and seemed like he was being the perfect person, you know, they have to show that and everything like that. I was like, what did I do so wrong? And then all the mental stuff. So I would say physical fades away because, you know, the scars go away and everything. But that mental, that I really cared that, especially when it came to therapy. Because I spent like 5 years in therapy. And a lot of it was I had mental abuse from my mother and my father, from my sisters, and then from men that I got with. So it was a long trail of it for a long time before I was able to get to the point where I'm in my life now, where I know who I am and I love myself and I know myself, and I can teach that to my daughters and my son.
Right.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off of what you're saying, absolutely. I think the mental verbal, it does stick with you longer because it doesn't start with just that one person, right? There's root somewhere.
Yeah.
And you have to pull it up by the root. You have to learn who God says that you are, first of all, right? You have to know who He says that you are. And I think a lot of times we get into relationships, we're young, it's lust. We think that it's love. We're head over heels. This person is giving us that attention. And when all of that knight shining armor stuff falls away and you see who that person is, you still don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I
And that's
mean?
what I had to deal with. I didn't know who I was. Never knew who I was.
You are. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't really think, I don't see how you have the physical without the mental or the verbal. You know what I mean? I don't typically think that somebody's just laying hands on you and not calling you out your name.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
You know,
It all goes together.
well, I will say that I was in a relationship, not the same one, where the guy that actually hit me that one time, he really didn't say, he really wasn't that verbally abusive. It was like something triggered that one time, you know, but I was in a verbal relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, you will never da da da, you know, all that, those things, and those things did stick with me, you know, up until probably I was 24, 25, and even kind of in my early 30s, you know, and I had remarried, but I still kind of held some things in my head, you know, thinking, but there was a time when I was insecure and, you know, really wasn't confident, but it's like, oh, I know who I am. Now I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just certain men know what they can and what they cannot do. So,
Yeah,
but
you're
it
right.
does make sense because some men do, you know, the physical or whatever. Anyway, we're not gonna. I was just wondering. That just kind of dropped in my spirit because there was a real question
Yeah,
that I
that's a
had
great question.
with somebody the other day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm I'm gonna jump right back in with the next question here.
Sure.
So, I know you said you went to therapy and that helped you. Right? So how did healing begin for you outside of therapy? And
Ooh,
what
so,
do you feel confident?
ooh, Miss Bonita. So I always tell people, everyone thinks therapy is just like you sitting by the water and you just it's all like that. No, therapy is hard and it's rough and it's gonna break you and you're gonna have to have accountability for your life. So I went through a bunch of therapy before I found the right one because I came across every therapy be like, how does that make you feel? That it was a bunch of them, but I found one lady and her name was Miss Mary. God bless her. And from the moment I came in there, she was like, "You're not going to sit in my office with a mask on. You're going to come in here, and we're going to get this." Because I was going to therapy for the relationship. She was like, "Oh no, we need to start at your childhood. You have a lot of the illustration she gave me was I had a lot of graves attached to me, and I'm a walking graveyard because I didn't buried everything. I didn't bury me having a child this young. I didn't bury me and my child was homeless. I didn't buried it. And she said, no, we got to dig them graves up and you got to heal it. And then she was like, you got to take accountability because you stayed. you allowed this to go on. You said, and I didn't want to take accountability. I wanted to be the victim. Well, my mom wasn't in my life, my dad wasn't in my life, and so I get to be this way. I had a real bad victim mentality, and she was like, "Nope, we're not doing that." And when I began to take that accountability for my life and the choices I made, um, it was hard. Don't get me wrong now, because I fought the old Shermonica a lot of days, and I was like, I want to stay being this way, but I knew what was on the other side of that healing. I can teach my daughters. I can teach my son. I can come onto a wonderful podcast like this and share my journey. That can maybe help another mom, help another woman, help a man. I knew what was on the other side of it, and God was like, "You got to get there because I got some work for you to do." And you got to heal. Like, you truly have got to heal this. And so I didn't, I've never got a chance to sit by the water and be out like this. I never got to do that or anything, but I will one day. I'm going to sit by, I love water, but it was a process. And so I'll say to anyone, if you're really truly going to go on a healing journey, just be prepared. Don't back out of it. Keep going. I have, it was up days and down days and everything, but I know it was on the other side. Now that I am on the other side, I see why I had to, go through all that. So I can reach back and help somebody else. That's the whole part of it.
Yes. Look, I was about to jump up because when you said the accountability is that is me. That is a major thing. I've been through, been a teen mom, been through domestic violence, all of those things with my son's dad. So you're saying all these things. I'm like, listen, that should sound like she's telling my testimony here right now.
Amen.
But I didn't grow up until I stopped blaming him, and I said, I'm not a victim, and he's not going to have this control over me for the rest of my life by me being a victim, right? I'm going to take my power back, take accountability for the things that I've done, because I wasn't always perfect in a relationship. I didn't always say the right things. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't excuse that person from what they did, but I'm just standing in my own power, and I'm not a victim. So yes, I think that is like a major way to heal, is by learning to take self accountability.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you are on the other side.
Thank you.
Because whoever watches this podcast, they will be blessed. This is something, your story needs to be told.
Thank you.
You have so much inside of you that people need to be able, you're relatable. You there's different layers to you is what I'm saying. And just like the graves, there's different layers that people need. You can talk to people with different layers. And you mentioned something, and I'm gonna take that. Excuse me. I think he knew not to mess with your son, because if he would have messed with your son, that wasn't his. Now that would have been on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So ain't no telling what you probably would have did then. But I just had to say that because it's different layers to it.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. But what's one message? You're welcome. You're welcome. So let me tell you what I always say. Keep pushing. And what you always say?
Showing up, yes.
Yes, yes. There is so much more in you. So many more platforms for you. Get that book out. Get that book out. So what's one message that you want every teen mom, every young adult that's listening today to remember if she's experiencing abuse right now? What's something that you want to leave them?
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I was about to cry, but I said I don't want to cry on here. If I can leave one message. So what Jennifer Lewis have a saying, and I kind of took it on for myself. She said, love yourself enough so that when love shows up, it won't be a stranger to you. And so since I never had experienced like true love until I learned what the love of God is and everything, my main thing I would say is when you love yourself and when you know your worth, you won't tolerate anything. You won't settle for anything at all, period. And I pour that into my children. Just please love yourself, because I know what it's like not to love yourself. I know what it's like to just, to just be in the darkness and everything. And, because I tried to commit suicide 3 different times. I used to be a cutter. I had really, really dark. God pulled me out of a dark, dark place and everything. And my children always say, "Why you be so happy in the morning?" I was like, when you was at a point where you didn't want to wake up every morning, you'll be happy that you do get up in the morning and everything. So it just all goes back to loving yourself and knowing who you are. And it's okay to be alone. It's okay to be by yourself and to work on yourself and to heal, because it's not for you, it's for someone else. You're going to help someone else. So if that's the message I can leave, love yourself, truly love yourself, and find out what the love of God is. His love is like no other. I never experienced that kind of love. Just to be just loved on and taken care of. And I was like, where have you been all my life and everything? So that's a message that I would leave for young teen moms and for women.
Yeah. Listen, and he's been here with you, giving you grace, keeping you alive day in and day out. When you were in those relationships and you didn't know a way out, he was the reason you kept waking up every single day. So he's been here,
Amen.
right? And it's something about when we get to really we know his love, right? And we know like, okay, this has been you all along. Thank you for giving me grace to finally wake up and say, no more. Right? So that I can share my testimony with somebody else. This has been good, y'all.
Oh, thank you.
I got chills listening to you talk, telling your testimony. It's definitely needed and necessary. How can we connect with you on social media?
So I'm on Facebook by my name, Shermonicia Slaughter. Instagram, it is covered by God, 1984. Yes, ma'am. And I'm on TikTok. It's Anointed Vessel 40. And so I'm looking to really hope to. I'm working on my book. Thank God for that. And I'm really hoping to get this podcast back. Holy Spirit gave me a great idea for a podcast for me to do. And I've just been seeking him. I'm really open into, wanting to speak and wanting to, get out there and everything. And it's so funny. I had prayed a prayer and I was like, Lord, just start aligning me where you want me to be. And Joy texted me the next day about coming being on here. And I was like, okay, I see what you're doing and everything. So I'm grateful. Just thank you guys for this opportunity.
You're welcome. And you will be back.
Please, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, you'll be back.
Yes.
And I would love to have you guys on mine once I get, because I'm going to get it started. And I'm going to have you guys on there too.
Yes, ma'am.
Saying yes, we are. That's what we're here for. Listen, Joy, I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I'm excited about this next season of Hope and where the Lord is taking us and where He is guiding and the people that He's bringing on the show. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure y'all connect with us on social media too. But we have some exciting news that we'll be sharing over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you're tuned in. Is there anything else you wanted to share, Joy?
There's hope at the end of the tunnel.
Amen. Amen.
And Shermonica literally just told us that. She just walked us through it.
Yes.
You did.
Yes, absolutely. So until next time, everyone, make sure that you please like, subscribe, share, and leave us a comment, a review on this episode. Let us know your takeaways. And then, of course, make sure you connect with Shermonica on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and then we will see y'all next time.
Bye.